Hey guys, welcome to another session of RBTL, reading between the lines. This week, not much difference. We do have Lilius's event still going on, but we have our new ML hero, Desert Jewel Basar, so ML Basar. As always, check out their actual intro video for it. I think, like off the top of my head, I don't think like he's like extremely like broken, but definitely useful. So I mean, since this is a gacha game, we have to expect like every new hero to somewhat be useful. But whether or not they're game changing, I'm not 100% sure at this moment. The S3 really appeals to me. With all the debuffers, having him in a defense team, I think it's gonna be pretty good. Since he does cleanse for your whole team right away. So I mean, if we're talking about in the state of like GVG or even Arena, generally you can set up a whole team that is super strong, that is expecting your enemies or the players to actually debuff you. But if he does get his S3 off, so like if he's not stunned or asleep or something like that, he's able to dispel all buffs and then grant immunity for 3 turns. That is very powerful skill. And then not only that, it increases your combat readiness by 20%. So very useful all around, whether you want him to go first in your defense comp or even go in the middle. I don't think that even really matters, but once he does go and can go, I think that's going to be very beneficial for your team. Now obviously in the offensive team, that skill becomes ever more important, since Lilius was released last week and her full team cleanse and CR pushback is like very good. Even her being a fire hero right now, it doesn't really matter. That skill itself is so strong. Desert Jewel Basar will have more benefits in that sense. The only thing is, of course, no one can miss him, whereas depending on the team comp, Lilius can be missed. So I mean, there are pros and cons to being using both, but of course he does grant them immunity for 3 turns, and that is very useful. If you guys have faced the Vivians in defense comps in GVG or Arena, you know that her high speed with immunity and attack buff is a scary thing to deal with, especially if she goes before you. So it's the same kind of concept, but having that immunity up is really good. And again, it's 3 turns, right? So 3 turns is pretty big. Definitely beats the Armin at this point. I'm kind of split on the rest of his skills. While yes, there's potential, and he is a Soul Weaver, not what's it called? Not a mage. So he can't use mage artifacts like Abyssal Crown or whatnot. But he is a Soul Weaver. His S1 does that 25% chance to stun single target until you soul burn, which is 20 souls. It does to all enemies, but it also increases the heal chance for Everlasting Oasis, which is a passive. Always triggers after the S1. Now there's a couple things, and I'm gonna give a shout out to one of my guildmates, Protein Bar. He was wondering that, and I think actually we found the answer to this, but he was wondering early on that does the tome artifact actually trigger upon the S2 passive. I remember someone did research or something, and I don't think it works that way. Otherwise, because the S2 technically has a heal, it is a skill, but it's a passive. So we weren't sure if it triggered Tome, because if it did trigger Tome, he would get a CR boost every time it goes. So it's pretty cool if it did, but I don't think so. I think we ended up figuring out that it doesn't work. But if we're not sure about that, I think we could do some tests. But that's definitely a big one. The damage mod on the S1 is 1.2, which is pretty strong, to be honest. If you soul burn in this AoE, it's a 1.2 times AoE. It's a cleave, which is pretty strong, and he does need some attack if you really want to benefit from his heal. Otherwise, you don't need to build him with attack, and I think that's kind of like a bait. Like, do you build him with attack? He's a Sagittarius, which is the same as Tamarine, which means a low base HP, but also high base attack. So that's quite interesting, or higher base attack if you're comparing Soul Weavers. So it's quite interesting, like, do you make him like a utility, like just full healer, since he does heal more with his attack, or do you just build him like tanky and just skip the attack stats altogether? Of course, if you are rolling with some weird gear that has both attack and HP, it might be good for him if you're not building it already for a bruiser. But the S2 is a heal strength of 15 to 18%, self attack of 6 to 7.2%. This is depending on your Mola, I think. So if you max Mola the S2, it's at 18% of the self attack and 7.2% of the target's max health. So if you combine both heals together, it does heal quite a bit. Definitely totally a Soul Weaver level heal. If you soul burn it, it's 36% self attack, and then 14.2% targets max health with a soul burn. So if you do a calculation of that, that's like a rod at plus 15, rod at plus 15 with an additional attack scaling heal, which is definitely good. So I think I think there have been a couple theory crafts, but we have to see at the end. Like sometimes it's easy to theory craft like what kind of builds on paper, but I think we've gotten counter set with Celestine. He would heal like non-stop pretty much, but he would need to be decently fast. So like with his high base speed, 160, 170 with a counter set if possible. Otherwise you could go with a speed set if you're going for that first turn cleanse and immunity. And I think those are probably going to be the two sets that he'll really use. How you finish off the second set, so you'll most likely be using a 4-piece set. How you finish off the second set is entirely up to you. He could be you could use on a resistance set, immunity set. Basically, for him to get his S3 off when you want, you do need some high resistance or at least immunity. If you're not running into someone that can actually dispel your immunity buff, at least high resistance. So yeah, so I mean he's gonna be typical, pretty stat hungry. If you want that stun, even though it's a 25%, up to 35 actually if you mull it, maybe you want some effectiveness, but I think yeah, like a regular Soul Weaver, it's pretty much gonna share regular Soul Weaver stats, but the sets might be different. Second part, so we're finally gonna get this. This was announced early on, I think a month ago. So we were all like, you know, all waiting. It's like, is it this week? Is it this week? The 3 stars finally get their well, technically it's a buff, but where it only takes Stigma and Catalyst. And if you look at just Tyranno Royal Guard here, that is a healthy amount of Stigma. It's not really expensive, so we can expect a lot of 3-star heroes going forward to be max molded. That of course includes some of the big game changers right now, which is like Montmorency, Commander Lorena. If you're using her for hell raids and whatnot, it's gonna be really good. The Butcher, the specially changed Butcher would be really good too. I think Falconer Cleary might come back. We might see her a lot more now. But yeah, most of the specially changed heroes, and I think I would say ML heroes, ML 3 stars are gonna get a lot more love now, because a lot of ML 3 stars are actually good in terms of their kit, but people don't build them because of the Mola investment. And at this point where we are, Moling a 3-star ML is not as worth it compared to like 4 stars and 5 stars. But because now the Mola is not even a thing, it's gonna be we're gonna see them. I think Gunther is gonna get plus 15 love. Requiem Roar is gonna be really good too. Just a ton. I'm pretty sure like all of them. All the 3 stars are gonna get a lot of love, except like Enot, because he still looks like Lord Farquaad. Anyways, we get to reset the skills that you have invested in. So for me personally, since I played since week 1, I invested a couple Molas here and there into like units like Judith, you know, when we needed CR pushers. I think Ruzid got some, Falconer Cleary of course, Commander Lorena has got like most of my Mola there. So I'm definitely gonna get those back. Very looking forward to that. I'm assuming I'm gonna get back at least 40 or so with the actual reduction too. So yeah, just a reset skill. It's not a recall. So thanks Badzilla for that clarification. But yeah, you could just reset the skill, so you don't need to re-level them or whatever. Even though technically you're not re-leveling, you're just feeding them penguins or whatnot. But you don't need to do that. So just the skill reduction is pretty good. So probably just go through your list and start getting the recalls, or the refunds rather, ASAP. And then the reduction, 18 to 21% reduction for 4-star, 5-star heroes, of course, very, very good. 33 to 27, and the 5 stars 42 to 33. It's going to make a big difference. A lot of our heroes are going to be jacked going forward. I haven't been really like investing in any hero because of the lack of Mola I had, and I just didn't know who I can invest in. But then now that with this larger threshold coming back again, I can strategically start working on some heroes again that I think that have potential. For me, I think Yufine is one. Lilius, I think so, but I'm gonna see because I think I'm gonna pull for ML Basar. I'm gonna try to, and if I do get ML Basar, I'm gonna test them a bit. Right now, my Lilius is not molded at all, and I'm not 100% convinced that I should mold her yet at this point. I just need to see like what other heroes need priority, but doesn't mean that she's bad. It just means that for me, myself, I don't think I should mold her yet. Yeah, so I'm just gonna skip down here for a couple things that are added. This try again button, very good. Instead of yielding and having to go back, sometimes like if I'm running it on an emulator, it's kind of annoying to go through like 3-4 button presses before you could actually try again. So this is definitely a really smart addition to their pause menu. Yeah, so instead of yielding, going out, and then waiting for your list to load, and depend on your phone speed too. Your phone, if it was older, it might take a bit longer as well. But the try again button definitely very, very useful. So very good aspect to have. And the automaton tower, of course, there's another note. I'm not gonna read it, but yeah, apparently I think they had like an older month's rewards or something like that, so they had to kind of like close it down. But we will be able to get automaton tower after the patch. But we're also gonna get additional, at least for this one. Like, please note that the rewards are only for October, so we don't know what this will be like in November. But we get the reward chest, and we get accessories going down, so it feels like it's quite a lot more stuff. I don't know if we actually had a reduction in any rewards to replace for the epic accessories, but otherwise, if the automaton reward chest is the same as last month, then we're going to be getting 2 times the amount of gear, which I think is good. So yeah, so let's so some changes here, and I think that's pretty much it. That's all I wanted to cover for this one. Yeah, so that's it. Let me know your thoughts on ML Basar here. I have heard like mixed reviews. Apparently there's some top players saying that this might not be a worth it pull. And from my reading, other than the cleanse into immunity, I'm not 100% sure whether or not it's a good one. Of course, like he does do debuffs though. That's another thing that and it can be an AoE stun, but 35% chance. So like, are you gonna bank on that? So really treat him, I think, as a Soul Weaver completely, because since like Angelica can stun too, Angelica can stun as well. Even though single target, you don't want to be like overselling his S1. But yeah, I mean, I think he'll heal just as good as any other Soul Weaver. So like, is he worth it for you right now? But let me know what you guys think. I might be pulling for him. I'll probably wait actually just to see, if we get any news or any theory crafts. But at the moment he looks like okay. But it's at the same time, it's just like, do you want to miss him? That's the thing that most people have in the back of their heads. Like, oh, do you want to skip him? Maybe he'll never appear, and maybe he's like game changing. So anyways, yeah, but you do have a month to pull for him. But I'm gonna end this here. If you guys have Discord, check out the Discord server, follow me on Twitter, and subscribe to YouTube if you haven't. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys on the next RBTL.